All right, homework 19 starts off with solving some problems again that have fractions in them. We said if there was a fraction in the problem, we want to eliminate the fraction by multiplying by the common denominator. In this case, we have a denominator of w plus 6, and we have a denominator of w plus 1 and w plus 6. So the w plus 1 and the w plus 6 is your common denominator because you'll be able to use that to still cancel the w plus 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take w plus 1 and w plus 6 times each term, and there are 3 terms in this problem. So I'm going to put w plus 1 and w plus 6 times each of these. The first one doesn't have a fraction. We're not going to be able to cancel anything. I'm just going to rewrite it, and I'm going to put the 4 in front just because it is easier to do it that way. So 4 times w plus 1 times w plus 6. On the second fraction, the w plus 6 cancels, so I'm going to have the top part of this fraction, the plus 5, times the w plus 1, equals, on the other one, check your paper here, make sure that negative is in front of there. Got typed in without the negative, so I had to fix that. I'm going to cancel out the w plus 1 and the w plus 6, and so it should equal then minus 6. So if you don't have the corrected paper, make sure the minus gets put in front of there. Some of you will have the corrected paper and it will be there, but watch for that. I need to then solve this. In this case, I'm going to FOIL this out before I multiply by the 4. You could multiply by the 4 first, but then your numbers just get bigger, so it's easier if you FOIL first. So FOILing this part out, in parentheses, w times w is w squared, my outside is plus 6w, my inside is plus 1w, and then 1 times 6 is 6. So combining my like terms, I have w squared plus 7w plus 6. That 4 is still out in front of there. I'm then going to simplify that by multiplying each of those terms by 4. So I'm going to have 4w squared plus 28w plus 24. I've got all this first part simplified. I can continue here. Here I'm just going to use my distributive property. So I'm going to have 5w plus 5. I'm just going to add it to the end down here. Plus 5w plus 5 equals, over here, I just have my minus 6. So, taking this big long mess, combining my like terms. I have the 4w squared. I have a 28w plus a 5w. I'm combining those. I'm not moving them. So I'm just adding them together. 28 plus 5 would be 33w. And then I have the 24 plus the 5. Again, I'm just combining those. So plus 29 equals my negative 6. Now I have a quadratic expression, so when I want to solve that, I have to set it equal to 0 and solve by factoring, or if you really wanted to, you could use the quadratic formula, but factoring is usually easier to do. So I'm going to go ahead and set it equal to 0. I have to add my 6. So 4w squared plus 33w plus 35 would equal 0. I now need to factor that. Now when I factor 4w squared, keep in mind it could be 4w and w, and if that doesn't work, we'll try 2w and 2w. So, my signs, both of them are pluses. Going to have a plus and a plus. Factors of 35. 7 times 5 is probably your most common pair. I want to plug them in so my outside plus my inside adds up to the 33. So I want 33. I'm going to put the 7 here and the 5 here since 4 times 7 would be bigger than 4 times 5. 4 times 7, 4w times 7 would be 28w. 5 times w is 5w. 28 plus 5, sure enough, adds up to the 33. So we know that's the correct factoring. We really don't need that one then, since our first way worked. We then have to solve each of those. Since it's equal to 0, either the 4w plus 5 equals 0, or your w plus 7 could equal 0. Solving each of those, I'm going to minus my 5, so 4w equals negative 5, then divide by my 4. So w could equal negative 5/4 if I write it way up there. On the other one, I got to minus my 7. W just equals negative 7. Now we said on these ones with fractions, we have to check and make sure that we don't get 0 in the bottom of our fractions. We really don't have to worry about the fraction answers, but we do have to worry about the whole number answers. Negative 7 plus 6 is negative 1. Negative 7 plus 1 is negative 6. It's not going to give me a 0 on either of them. I couldn't have a negative 6. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. And I couldn't have a negative 1. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So since I didn't get a negative 6 or negative 1 answer, both of these answers should be correct. And so negative 5/4 and negative 7 would be my two answers. Again, if I went over that too quickly, pause the video so you can get everything written down, or rewind it and watch it again. All right, let's go to number 2. Same kind of theory behind this. I want to multiply by the common denominator to get rid of my fractions. And so one denominator has a y plus 1, the other one has a y plus 2, so that means we have to multiply everything by both of those two things because they're two different things. So I'm going to take the y plus 1 and the y plus 2 times that, the y plus 1 and the y plus 2 times that one, and the y plus 1 and the y plus 2 times that one. So on the first one, nothing's going to cancel out, right? I'm just going to put the 8 in front because it looks prettier there. So 8 times y plus 1 and y plus 2. On the second fraction, what's going to cancel out?
The y1.
The y plus 1. So we're going to have a minus 1 times the y plus 2, right? Equals, on the other side, what's going to happen?
Okay, the y2 cancels out.
The y2 cancels out, so we're going to have a 5 times the y plus 1. So again, we've got this mess with all these parentheses. We need to get rid of the parentheses. Here, we're going to FOIL this first. Then we'll take times 8. So we're going to start here. Y times y, y squared. Y times a plus 2 is a plus 2y. 1 times y is 1y. And 1 times 2 should be 2. So y squared plus 2y plus 1y plus 2. Combining my like terms, then we have y squared plus 3y plus 2. And of course that 8 is still out in front that we haven't done yet. So now we need to take each of those times that 8 that's in front. So 8y squared. 8 times 3 would give me 24y. And 8 times 2 is 16. Now that we have that first stuff all simplified, now we can do the rest of this. Here we're going to multiply by our negative 1. So negative 1y. And then negative 1 times a positive 2 would be minus 2. On the other side, if I get rid of my parenthesis, 5 times y would be 5y. 5 times 1 is 5. So over here on this left-hand side where we've got this big long mess, we can combine some like terms. We have an 8y squared. We have 24 minus 1, which would be 23y. And we have 16 minus 2, which is 14. Equals our 5y plus 5, right? We have a quadratic expression. We have to have it equal to 0. It's not equal to 0. So we need to move the 5y and the 5 to the other side. So we're going to minus that 5y and minus the 5. So now we have 8y squared. 23 minus 5 would be 18y. And 14 minus 5 looks like it's going to be 9, huh? Equals 0. Let's see if this one factors out. 2 sets of parentheses. 8y squared. What times what would give you 8y?
4.
4y and 2y, right? 4y and 2y. My signs. Both pluses. Factors of 9. 3 and 3. Now we want to see, does that check, does that give us 18 in the middle? My outside product is 12y, right? 4y times 3y. My inside product, 3 times 2 is 6y. 12 plus 6. Hey, it is 18. I got the right thing. So I've got it factored right. So now I have to say either the 4y plus 3 equals 0. See if I can write that down right. 4y plus 3 equals 0, or 2y plus 3 equals 0. So solving that, I'm going to minus my 3, so 4y would equal negative 3, and divide by 4. Y would equal negative 3/4. Second part of that, got to minus my 3 again. 2y equals minus 3. Divide by 2. So y equals negative 3 over 2. They're probably just going to use a comma in between their two answers. So negative 3/4 and negative 3/2. Now remember on these ones before when we had the fractions, or had the answers, if these were fractions, we didn't have to worry about checking them. But if these come out to nice whole numbers, then we have to go back and make sure we don't have 0 on the bottom. If we would have had a negative 1 or a negative 2, we would have had to cross that answer off. But since they're fractions, we don't have to worry about checking them. Only if they're whole numbers, you got to check. Make sure you don't get 0 on the bottom of your fraction.
Okay.
All right. That one worked out a little better. Let's try the third one. Come on, board. Doesn't want me to move it. That one didn't look like there's a lot of room there. There, this one looks like the first one, so hopefully this one works out right. We want to get rid of the fractions. We're going to multiply by
V1.
v minus 1 and
Oh, wait, no, yeah, V2.
v plus 2. And then I forgot to write the v in there. So v minus 1 and v plus 2. V minus 1 and v plus 2. So on the first part, we're going to have the negative 3 times both the v minus 1 and the v plus 2, since there wasn't a fraction to cancel, right? On the second one, we're going to do what?
The second one, we are going to cancel out V minus 1
So then we're going to have
plus 1 V plus 2.
plus 1 times v plus 2
Yeah.
equals,
Equals, so the V1 is going to cancel out, equals 3.
equals the 3. All right, so what are we going to do next?
Now we are going to V times V squared
So v times v is v squared,
and V times 2V.
so we get 2v.
Am I doing parentheses? No?
We got a FOIL, so we got to
Okay.
keep going.
So negative 1V
Yep,
minus 2.
minus 2. Now we're going to combine the like terms.
So we got Negative 3v squared minus 1v.
Wait a minute here.
Oh, what?
Oh, you just wrote that negative 3? Okay, so you had v squared. Then what do you have next?
I have 1, negative 1.
You have 2 minus 1
2 minus 1. Oh, plus 1.
plus 1.
Plus 1
v minus 2, right?
minus 2, yep.
Now we're going to multiply by that negative 3, so we're going to have,
Oh, didn't I already do? Okay, I thought I did. We're gonna have negative 3v squared plus 3v.
whoops, negative times a positive is a
Negative?
negative 3v
Negative 3v and then plus 6.
plus 6. Now if we keep going, multiplying out that other set of parentheses, we get
3. Right?
We gotta do this one?
Oh, those one. Oh, that. So it's plus 1v plus 1.
Plus
2
2
equals 3.
equals 3. Okay, now what are we going to do with that?
We are going to put the 1v over here by the negative, so it's going to become negative 1v, so it'll be negative 4.
Wait a minute, what are you doing?
The 1v, isn't it going over to the 3? Oh, am I going to take the 3?
They're on the same side. I'm not moving it over here to this side.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just putting them together. I'm not going to change any signs. I'm just going to combine. So I'm going to have negative 3v squared, negative 3 plus 1 would be negative 2v, right? And then 6 plus 2 is going to be 8. Right? So you're not moving them, you're just combining them.
Plus 8.
But now what do I need to do?
Okay. Then we are going to, now are we, no, we did that already. So negative, 18y plus, no, no. Okay, I'm lost.
So look at this.
Okay.
What do we
Yep.
still need to do to this to get it in the right form? It has to be equal to
0.
0, and it's not equal to 0, it's equal to 3, right?
Yep.
So we got to move that 3 over, and that one's moving to the opposite side, so we're going to minus 3, right?
Oh, okay. Minus 3.
So negative 3v squared minus 2v plus 5 is going to equal 0. Now, this is a different one or a different kind of thing than you've had before, right? Because notice you have that negative 3v squared.
Yep.
And when we have the quadratic formula, we always have to have that 3v squared be positive. So remember that other ones when we had all those negatives? We had to move everything to the other side. So we're going to say instead of this, that 0 is going to equal, this is going to be a positive 3v squared. That's going to change to a positive 2v, and that's going to be a minus 5. So that we can solve it, because we can't solve it with that negative in front of our v squared. And now we can try to factor. So factors of 3v squared.
3v.
3v and v. My signs on this one.
Positive.
One positive and
Oh, one negative?
one negative, because the end is a negative, right?
Oh, yeah, okay.
Positive times a negative is a negative. Factors of 5.
3 and 2.
3 and 2, 3 times 2 is 6, right? We want the factors of 5.
Oh,
What times
one
what and
times
5?
five.
1 times 5. 1 and 5. Whoops, that's not going to be the right order, because that's going to give me 15. I better put my 5 first, right? 5 and 1. Because I have to have my outside plus my inside equal 2, right? My outside product is negative 3v My inside product is positive 5v, and negative 3 plus 5 is 2, which is what we want. So now we can break it down into our two separate problems. 3v plus 5 equals 0, or v minus 1 equals 0. So if we solve the first one, what are we going to do?
So we solve the first one.
We got to get the v by itself. What do we need to do?
Oh, we need to divide.
Before we divide. We got to move the 5 to the other side first, right?
Oh, okay.
So we got to minus our 5. 3v equals negative 5. And then divide by our 3. So v equals negative 5 over 3, right? How about on the second one? If we're going to solve that, what are we going to do?
You're gonna move your 1.
So I'm going to add my 1, and v is just going to equal 1, right? Now we said we don't need to worry about checking the fraction, but if we get a whole number answer, we need to check that. If I plug that in on the bottom of either of those fractions, am I going to get a 0?
Probably would you be 1.
Yeah, if we do 1 minus 1 here, we're going to get a 0, and division by 0 is undefined, so even though it worked out and we got that one, it's not going to check. So we're only going to put in one answer instead of 2 answers on this one. So you always have to go back and check if this is a whole number. If it goes in and I get a 0 on either of my fractions, I got to cross it off my list. I can't have 0 in the bottom of my fraction. Where your pencil?
It's wearing out.